Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3859 BN. Today's date is March 12th, 2026, and the title of the episode is Trump Says We Won in Iran. Who is he really fighting? Stage set for Save America Act. Hey, you know what's interesting? We've all seen the headlines about those miracle weight loss shots, but the 2026 data is officially in, and it's a wake-up call. A major analysis revealed that once people stop the injections, they regain an average of 60% of their weight within a year. Even worse, most of the gain is pure fat, but the muscle they lost stays gone, leaving them with a crashed metabolism and a body that's functionally older than when they started. That's why I'm obsessed with today's sponsor, GLP-1 Elevate. Instead of using needles to override my system, it uses clinically studied plant-based ingredients like metabolate to help my body naturally boost its own hunger control signals. I get the same fullness and fewer cravings, but without the scary side effects or the metabolic rebound. It supports my goals while protecting my muscles so I can actually keep the results for good. To celebrate Valentine's Day, get 50% off GLP-1 Elevate at trimwithx22.com. Every order includes a complete support bundle with a free VIP coaching for life, a 60-day money-back guarantee, and free express shipping on subscriptions. Head over to trimwithx22.com now to claim your 50% discount before it expires, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you could see at this point in time, Trump is bringing down their entire system worldwide. And that is what we are witnessing. This is not just about Iran and their nuclear weapons. Think about what they set up in the Middle East. Think about what they've been controlling for a very long time. The flow of oil. They can turn it off. They can turn it on. And that's not the only place they were controlling it. Remember, the central bankers, the deep state players, they needed to control the economic system worldwide to usher in their green new system. And, of course, yes, to make a profit and use that to keep control of everything. Just like they laundered the money from Venezuela, the laundering money through Ukraine. We have USAID in this country with other agencies, NGOs, you name it. So when you look at this and you look at Iran, yes, Iran is pretty much the front men for their entire agenda. Trump has removed the frontmen. This is why I do believe Trump is saying that we've won the war in Iran, because is he truly fighting Iran or is he fighting other entities? Think about that for a second. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has just made the announcement that, hey, we're going to be bringing the ships through the Strait of Hormuz with the military, and we are going to use coalition forces to assist in all of this. Who now has control over this area? So when you really think about it, is Trump truly fighting Iran, or is he fighting the central bankers, the deep state players, and everybody else? I do believe Iran, they were the front country, just like the Somalis are the front men and women who've been running the scam. But this country, Iran, is not the country that has orchestrated the scam. They're there to create havoc. They're there to create chaos. They're there to keep the premiums up. They're there for control. When Trump removes this and there is no chaos, there is no threat, and he removes the London banking system, the insurers, and he has complete and utter control over this area, and energy comes way, way down, it pretty much wipes out their entire plan from the very, very beginning, doesn't it? You see, this is not just a 4-year election where we're throwing a couple people in prison so we can feel good, or we can just say, hey, Epstein, 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 Epstein over and over and over. This is much, much larger than anyone could ever imagine. Because, again, the deep state players, the central bankers, they've been controlling not just the United States, but the world, the economy of the world. They've been using terror to keep us in line. They've been using terror to remove our rights. They've been pushing this not just in the United States, but around the world. The other countries, it's a little bit easier because they don't have rights. They have privileges. So they can remove those very, very easily. The United States is a tougher nut to crack. And once again, this is what Trump has been battling. It's not just one little force. It's a much larger force. And yes, all these pieces that you see are all part of this system. That is what he's removing right now. And yes, in certain instances, it's going to look like, why is he doing this? This makes no sense to me. Because again, you've been kept in the dark for a very long time. Now, people, of course, are seeing the light. They're waking up. That's what the Great Awakening is. So you could see it through all of it, and you could see a lot more. I mean, really, think about this. With the war, or I should say the mission, Trump likes to call it an excursion, into Iran, think about what the fake news has been doing. They've been putting out stories that Iran is winning. The new Ayatollah, he's giving instructions now. They have the upper hand. There's going to be attacks, and ABC put out a news story coming from a memo that the FBI released in February that they might be using drones. Of course, again, when you start to look at the memo, you start to realize, wait a minute, these are all unverified reports. Plus, this came out before the Iranian ship was destroyed that held the drones. Now, could there be other ships? Maybe, but you don't think our military has eyes on everything? That's why they created Space Force, so they can watch the entire board simultaneously. We're no longer just using a couple little radar systems on the ground. Created Space Force so we can see the entire world. We can hear all the communications. You can get through certain encryption codes. You can actually screw up the radar systems in certain countries. All of this was done on purpose. So this way, when we make moves, it makes it a lot easier for the good guys to go after the bad guys. So when they put these things out here, they're doing it for fear. I mean, go back a little bit in time when we had Ukraine and Russia and they were fighting in the very, very beginning. And even up to this point, all they kept saying was Ukraine is winning. Ukraine has the upper hand. Russia's going to collapse. They have no weapons. They can't do anything. They're screwed. Oh, there's no way they're going to win. Their entire economic system is going to collapse any moment. Has that ever happened? No, because it was all fake, phony, and false. Ukraine never had the upper hand. Ukraine already lost in Ukraine against Russia. Because again, did they get their territories back? No. Russia has been holding on to them. They haven't let them go. That was the whole plan. Get Crimea back, get Donbass back, get all these places back. And Russia said no and put up a block, and they didn't get them back. So have they won? No. They need more weapons. They need more soldiers. They need more money. They need more of everything. If they need all of this and they still haven't won, they haven't gotten these territories back, they really haven't done a damn thing. And Russia has not collapsed. Now, Trump is making deals with Putin, removed sanctions, making deals that in regards to oil, because again, if you notice what Trump is doing, he's not even paying attention to Ukraine anymore. He's bypassing them. Zelensky only has what? The EU, the deep state players. So with Iran, what are they doing? They're continually putting out stories saying that Iran still has the upper hand. Iran has no upper hand. There's nothing that Iran can do. The leadership is gone. That's the reality of all. This is why Trump keeps saying, we already won in Iran. They already got rid of the leadership there. Yes, you might have a couple people that are putting up threats here and there. They can't carry through on these threats. They might have a couple of cells here and there, but soon all of these are going to be eliminated. Everything will be eliminated. It'll be completely, pretty much done. That's why Trump's saying they've got nothing left. They have no leader. They have nothing. And now with their entire country imploding, the people now are going to be doing what? They're going to be taking it back. Actually, the IRGC, they're going to be on the run. Actually, most of them already are. Their last thing they have left is the Strait of Hormuz. And you think it's just Iran that is assisting in this? Or do you think it's the deep state players? I do believe it's the deep state players. And this is why Trump is battling them right now. Iran is not the problem anymore. It's the deep state players that want to maintain control. That is the problem. And we could see that Trump, when all's said and done, he's going to have control of the entire area. And you're going to see that the deep state players, they're going to lose their grip. Think about what was happening in Venezuela with all the stories, how, they're going to be able to fight. Trump is never going to be able to remove Maduro. He's never going to be able to go into Venezuela. Their army is too strong. Really? Did that really happen? No, it really didn't. In a snap of a finger, Maduro was taken out and he was arrested. Just like that. The same thing is happening to Iran. This is why Trump said this is going to be over in a very short period of time, because Iran was no big deal. It's the other entities. It's the deep state players. It's the bankers. That's who he is fighting right now. And he's letting you know that once he gets control, it's all over for them. It's done. And you could see already Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is already letting the bankers know, the deep state players know that, no, we're going to be controlling this area and it's going to be out of your reach, which is going to basically devastate the deep state players. Just like when Trump went in and took over Venezuela, all that money is not going to them. Same thing with Cuba. Soon they're going to be, the regime is going to be removed, and then you're going to see that that's going to open up to all the markets, and the deep state players aren't going to be in control. Same thing with Brazil. Bolsonaro is gaining in regards to the elections. They're going to throw out Da Silva, and you're going to see South America, it's going to be all on the right. And the left is going to have no control whatsoever. The same thing's happening in the Middle East. Once Trump gets control over all of it, which I think it's just a matter of time, the Middle East, there is no more chaos. The Abraham Accords comes into effect and adds Iran. Might not happen tomorrow, but it will happen. And then there's no more chaos. The bankers lose. The deep state players lose. Trump then sets his sight on Ukraine. And you can see how this is turning out right now. So when you look at all of what is going on, yes, you're going to have certain things happen. You're going to have a ship that might hit a mine. You might have a ship that's attacked by a drone. It doesn't mean that the Iran won the battle. Yes, there are still certain things that have to be cleaned up. And they will be cleaned up with absolutely no problem whatsoever. And you could see that Trump now, as he's doing all this, he's actually setting the stage for the Save America Act. Think about what he's done to the rhinos, to the D's right now. Remember, this is about the people. This is about the people having the power. When Trump needs to do something, he needs to make sure that the people behind him, just like when he's doing the deportations right now, throughout the 2024 elections, leading up to the 2024 election, what needed to happen? The people needed to be behind him. Are the people behind him? Absolutely. Is the fake news and certain individuals trying to make it seem like the people are growing tired of deportations? Absolutely. Is that real? No, it's absolutely fake. But we'll get to that in just a sec. But I think Stephen Miller pretty much sums it up when it comes to birthright citizenship. He says, offering birthright citizenship to the world when the world is just one plane trip from the United States steals the actual birthright of every American. And you have to remember, our founding fathers, going back in time, they were actually setting up the birthright citizenship for the slaves in this country, that they would become citizens because they were born in this country. They were brought here as slaves, and they could be citizens. It wasn't that anyone that just crossed the border and gave birth in this country that you became a citizen. That is not what it was for. And there is precedent behind it. And I do believe Trump is going to win this in the end. Now, yes, of course, the Supreme Court and the left, they're going to fight against this as hard as they possibly can. But again, if they look at the Constitution, they look at precedent, you're going to see that, yes, that's exactly what the founding fathers actually meant. And once that occurs, it is pretty much game over for the deep state players. But you can see the narrative that the deep state, the fake news, the D's, even the rhinos are trying to push, that the people of this country are growing tired of deportations. Well, why would they put that message out there? Why would they start to push those type of polls? Because again, they don't want the illegals deported. Remember, they tried everything with their judges. It didn't work. Trump still has the right to deport. Actually, with the judges pushing back, trying to delay all this, it failed. And the ruling from the courts actually said they don't have the right to tell the immigration judge or anyone else what to do. It's out of their purview. So they're trying a completely different tactic right now. And Tony Saruga explains, we knew that the vast majority of Trump voters support mass deportations, but we wanted to prove it. We were right. Both Democrats and Republicans are lying to you. They have even misled Trump and the Trump White House, convincing them that mass deportation is no longer polling well. It's a lie. Most Americans voted for Trump for mass deportation because it is clear the country is being overthrown. Rosemary Jenks and IA Project should not have had to do this. It's just common sense. And here are the facts. So let's go back to the 2024 question. And here it was. Did President Trump promise to conduct the largest mass deportation operation in American history? Make you more likely or less likely to vote for him in 2024 election for president? More likely, 82%. Now, let's go to the next question. President Eisenhower launched the largest deportation effort in U.S. history, which resulted in around 1/3 of illegal migrants leaving the country. Do you support or oppose Trump's goal of exceeding that effort? 87% support. If President Trump exceeds 1 million deportations of illegal migrants in 2026, are you more likely or less likely to vote for the Republican candidate in the November general election for Congress? 74% more likely. So once again, the people are with Trump. So this messaging, letting everyone know that the people are no longer on board with this, is a complete and utter lie. The people are on board. This is what they voted for. And when Trump lets everyone know, hey, we got, 10 million or 20 million to go. Are you with me? Well, if you are, then we need to get Congress on board with all of this. You think the people are going to vote for this? Absolutely. Once again, you have to think to yourself and think logically. Why would the deep state, why would the fake news, why would there be certain entities that are controlling the polls? Why would they push this? Because once again, they're losing the narrative. They're losing the ability to stop Trump from deporting the illegals. They tried, they delayed as much as they possibly could with their judges, but it has all failed. Now they're trying to rely on these fake polls, and they're trying to get certain rhinos on board. They're trying to convince certain people that, look, the people are no longer with Trump anymore. Just like the people are leaving MAGA. This is all fake, phony, and false. Actually, go back to the elections in 2024 when they try to convince us that Kamala had more votes or she was polling better than Trump. It was all fake, just like with Biden. Biden actually won the 2020 election when he campaigned out of his basement. Do you really believe he got 81 million votes? No, all of this is fake. This is what we've been battling this entire time. The fake news, the fake rhinos, the fake Ds, the fake MAGAs. This is what we've been battling, and it's all fake. And you know what's not fake? That Trump had nothing to do with Epstein. And as every day that passes, everyone is getting more and more proof that it's not Trump, it's the Ds. And remember, the Epstein stuff is a symptom of a much larger system. The money laundering is a symptom of a much larger system. Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, Ukraine is a symptom of a much larger system. Yes, you put all of these things together, you get the system. And yes, there's other things that are involved in it. But again, that is the system. And what we've come to learn, and the Skiff put this out, is that Epstein's accountant clears Trump and is now the fifth person to say that Trump was not involved. Epstein clients' names who paid millions in fees: Les Wexner, Glenn Dubin, Steve Sonofsky, the Rothschilds, Leon Black. And yes, there's a lot of politicians. Yes, a lot of people in Hollywood. Yes, a lot of dignitaries, a lot of royals. They're all involved in this. And you could see at this point in time, it is falling apart for the Ds. It's falling apart for all these people that were trying to push the Epstein files. And again, they were trying to distract quite a bit from what was really going on. And they tried to trap Trump, but it completely and utterly backfired on them. And all of this will be used on them at a later date. But think about what Trump is doing right now. He started Space Force, and it looks like NASA is preparing to go back to the moon. We're going to return to the moon. Trump War Room put this out and says, we're returning to the moon and we're going to stay. We're going to build a lunar base. And next up is Artemis 2, which is America's moon rocket. So did we ever actually leave the moon? Did we have bases on the moon? Were they done through maybe black projects? I do believe so. I do believe we were told that it was done. So now we're going to be going back and we're going to be setting up bases. So let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. But the other thing that we could see is that right now, Cuba is going to be removed from the deep state players, and it's going to be set free. Eric Doherty put this out and said, President Trump just got Ecuador to cut off Cuba big time. The FBI has now opened its first office in Ecuador after the country kicked Cuban officials out of the country. Trump and Kash Patel's FBI will now use the office to go after cartels and drug trafficking. This is huge. This is our hemisphere. The communist influence are being obliterated, and the cartels are on notice. And you have to remember, and I think Steve Miller and Trump, they both said it, the cartels in this country are like the terrorists that are in the Middle East. They just use the cartels out in the Western Hemisphere. And now it's being all taken down. The terrorists are being destroyed one by one throughout the Middle East. Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, you name it. The cartels, the MS-13, Chendue Argua, and all the gangs, they're being destroyed in the Western Hemisphere. The entire deep state system is being dismantled right in front of our eyes. And you could see that Alejandro de Moraes looks like that judge who went up against Elon Musk that actually threw Bolsonaro in prison. It looks like he's having a little bit of troubles himself in Brazil. And I do believe Brazil is going to completely and utterly change. I do believe Bolsonaro is going to win over de Lula, I should say. And I do believe we're going to see that entire country completely and utterly change. But Kaneko the Great put this out and said, Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, the same judge who clashed with Elon Musk during Brazil's 2024 push to ban X, is now facing growing calls for impeachment and arrest. The pressure stems from a massive banking fraud scandal linked to the collapse of Banco Master. Moraes' wife law firm reportedly received about $25 million in legal service fees from the bank before it imploded amid a multi-billion-dollar fraud probe. Federal police forensic analysis of jail banker Danielle Vaccaro's phone reportedly uncovered WhatsApp messages sent to the judge on the morning of Vaccaro's November 17, 2025 arrest, asking whether he had managed to block his arrest as authorities closed in. Investigators say Moraes replied with "view once" messages that automatically disappear after being opened, leaving their contents unrecoverable. Police also reportedly identified earlier disappearing or deleted exchanges, phone calls between the two, and messages in which Vaccaro described meetings between Moraes in 2025. Moraes has denied the messages were his, but Brazilian newspaper O Globo reported this week that a federal police technical analysis linked the phone number directly to the Supreme Court justice. In 2024, Elon Musk labeled Moraes the dictator of Brazil and warned that the justice repeatedly and egregiously violates Brazilian law. Musk famously predicted Moraes will end up in prison for his many crimes. This is his destiny, even posting an AI-generated image of Moraes behind bars with the warning, "This picture of you in prison will be real, mark my words." Now, a growing coalition of Brazilian officials are demanding that Moraes face impeachment and criminal charges. Can Brazil successfully remove the corrupt dictator running its juristocracy? Only time will tell. And I do believe these criminals, and they're always criminals if you notice, well, I do believe justice will be served and he will end up in prison. And what will be very interesting is that Elon, I think, will show his AI picture and show the real picture. And I think it's going to look very, very similar. Now, the other thing that we could see is that the fake news, they're doing exactly what they did out in Ukraine. They're putting fake information out there, trying to convince everyone that Iran government is not at risk of collapse, that they're strong, they're still battling. It's all fake. First of all, do you really think Trump's intelligence agencies are handing over this information? Yes, you have rogue intelligence agencies feeding fake information to the fake news so they can put these stories out there to make everyone believe that this is happening. But once again, it truly is not. And when you look at Reuters and you look at a lot of the fake news outlets, they're putting headlines out like this: U.S. intelligence says Iran government is not at risk of collapse. So the Reuters report cites 3 anonymous sources familiar with the matter. No names, no one they can really point to. So again, it's fake. And basically, one of these sources described as a multitude of intelligence reports providing consistent analysis that the regime is not in danger of collapse. No specific names are provided in the article or related to the coverage. So basically, it's a fake article with fake information, and it's not real whatsoever. Actually, if you go back a little bit in time, remember this from The Guardian, the Russian economy is finally stagnating. What does it mean for the war and for Putin? If you go back a little bit in time to 2025, the imperial trap, Russia's war in Ukraine, and the lessons of failed conquests. If you go back to 2026 of January 30th, Ukraine historian says war could end with internal collapse of one side, which is Russia. Another one, why Russia may be running out of time in Ukraine. This is October 13, 2025. It's the same fake stories. And they put it out there to try to convince you that something's happening when it really isn't. But what's really happening is that Trump has already destroyed the regime. Yes, you still have certain individuals that are out there, but the actual leadership, their actual power is completely and utterly gone. Their weapons are completely gone. Now, again, if you see a drone, if you see a mine, these are weapons that are left over. These are weapons that are going to be cleaned up. These are weapons that are going to be removed, and it's not even going to take that long. But you could see that Trump and team, they're ready to move ahead and bomb the rest of the forces. Or, now think about this. If a major disruption happened and you couldn't get to the store, how long do you think you would last with what's in your house right now? If it's anything less than a month, you need to check out our friends at My Patriot Supply. They're America's #1 preparedness company with over 3 million satisfied customers. And right now, when you go to preparewithx22.com, their best-selling 4-week emergency food supply comes with an additional week of food free. This is the best long-term storable food you can find. You're getting at least 2,000 calories a day, real meals made with real ingredients, no artificial flavors or colors, and shelf life measured in decades. Look, we all know we need to have some food stored for emergencies. Why not get it from the most trusted folks in the business and get a free week of food while you're at it? Go to preparewithx22.com to get your free week of emergency food today. That is preparewithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. They're going to push the forces into collapse and have them run to give the people of the country a open field to take back their entire country, because really that's what this is about. You don't want the Ayatollah. You don't want the same regime in power, even if you destroyed all their weapons, because what do you think they're going to do? Over time, they're just going to do the same exact thing. To have true peace and to have no chaos in the region, you need to remove the regime. Just like here in this country and around the world, you just can't arrest a couple of people. You got to remove the entire system, and that's what Trump is doing right now. Open source intel put this out and said bunker-busting bombs are being loaded onto U.S. B-1 strategic bombers at RAF Fairford in the UK. This appears deliberate. They want everyone to see the bombs. They want everyone to see what's going on, because now Trump and team, they're going deep into Iran to remove all the hidden missiles, to remove everything that they have out there, to remove the additional bases, the additional troops that they might have out there. He's bringing it all down. That is what he's doing. And when you look at Iran, and Jim Ferguson put this out, a massive explosion has been reported with huge plumes of smoke rising over the city and footage rapidly circulating online. The target has not been confirmed, but incidents like this are increasing. And yes, they're going to be using these bombs. They're going to be hitting very deep into the ground, destroying everything that they have down there. It's almost like what Israel did with Hamas in Gaza, where they hit very hard, destroyed the tunnels, destroyed their bases, destroyed the weapons. It's almost like what Trump did with their nuclear reactor, sent a bomb in which completely and utterly destroyed it. So now Trump is just wiping out everything else that they have, and the IRGC, the regime, they will have no power whatsoever. And why is this all possible? Well, it's because of what Trump set up back in his first term. Remember, the D's wanted to get rid of it. The D's said there's no reason for it. Well, of course they wanted to get rid of it, because they didn't want the people of this country to have this technology. Remember, their plan was to have the United States lose the war. So why would they want the United States Armed Forces to have technology where they can see the entire board? They can see the earth. They can see they can hear communications. They can see through things. They can project certain things. They wouldn't. That's why they were against it. Eric Doherty put this out and said, Trump NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman just confirmed that America's space assets are surging our edge over the Iranian regime. Many Democrats insisted the Space Force was useless. I guess not. Space is the ultimate high ground. The assets we have in space, the satellites that are there for observation, for communication, I mean, these are the capabilities that are identifying the rocket launches, that are communicating to our forces and give American extreme edge in the conflict. And they do a lot more than that. And you could see at this point in time, Trump is using all the technologies. He built this up for this reason. His first term was setting the stage for pretty much everything. He knew he was going to have to go into these different regions. He knew that we had to actually rebuild the military, create new technology, put it in place for this time. He knew that he was going to have to wake the people up by allowing the deep state players to cheat in the election, to use it later. Everything that he does, he's thinking ahead. I'm going to need to do this because when I prove election interference, I have to show without a shadow of a doubt that they cheated. So how do you do that? You let them cheat on a scale never seen before. During the first term, I need to rebuild the military because I know that I'm going to have to wipe out the deep state players across the globe. We're going to need technology that no one has ever seen before. And that technology would not be handed over to the Biden administration. This is what Trump has done from the very, very beginning. Now he's using drones to take out the checkpoints in Tehran. Think about this. Do we actually need troops on the ground? Or do we have troops in a different way? If we have drones flying around Iran, removing the military soldiers in Iran, does this allow us to gain control in that area? Absolutely. Do we actually have to put soldiers on the ground? No, we don't. And Tehran checkpoints are hit by reported drone attacks. So what we're seeing right now, we're seeing the same method that Ukraine was using with the Russian armed forces. The problem was Ukraine didn't have the upper hand, but they did go after the soldiers with drones. Retro the Cat put this out and said, combat in Ukraine proved it is perfectly feasible to unleash drones against individual men hiding in fields, houses, fleeing on motorcycles, crouching in trenches, etc. There are hundreds, perhaps thousands of videos of this online. There is absolutely no reason why drones can't hunt the IRGC and besiege as relentlessly as soldiers in Ukraine if the Israel-US can construct a sensor shooter targeting network over Tehran. How would the secret policemen operate? How drive their cars? How go to the ATM to get money? The Ayatollahs are up against the AI Ayatollahs. And basically, this is what Trump is going to use against them. He's going to use the drones. And drones now, and David Vance put this out, the drones are now wiping out the IRGC vehicles and checkpoints. This is a very important change in tactic because think about it, thousands upon thousands of drones that are spotting, that are getting their information from the satellites, that are targeting these people. Because again, facial recognition and everything else, they know who these people are. They've been tracking them for a very long time. You think Trump went into this war not knowing all this information? You don't think they've been tracking them for a very long time? You don't think he knows where the sleepers are? You don't think they've been watching the mines and where they've been putting them, where the ships are? Of course they have. And this is how they're taking it all out. Trump War Room put this out and said, and this is coming from Trump, they started talking about mines. So we hit 28 mine ships as of this moment, using the same weapon, the exact same weapon that we use against the drug dealers. And that is what they're going to use. Any of those small little boats trying to put the mines in the Strait of Hormuz, they're going to be taken out with absolutely no problem. Now, there might be certain underwater drones that they're using right now. They did hit a certain ship. But I do believe in the end that these will be jammed. They will be taken care of. And what's going to happen is the Strait of Hormuz will be protected and it will open up. It's better to say that we're going to be sailing through to actually see where your enemy and what they're going to do. So basically, I do believe Trump put it out there saying we're going to be sailing through. We're going to make it safe. He wanted to see what the enemy was going to do and what else they had left. And I do believe this was a trap to see exactly what they have. And what we're seeing right now is that they don't have that much. And the other thing that's very interesting, and Marion Nafal put this out, about 30 super tankers are steaming towards Saudi Arabia's Red Sea port of Yanbu. Normal traffic is 2 per month. Saudi Arabia is rerouting oil exports through its western coast after Iranian strikes choke the Strait of Hormuz. The kingdom plans to push roughly 5 million barrels per day through the Red Sea, but the new route carries its own risk. Tankers will have to pass through the Bab al-Mandab Strait, where Houthis attacked ships for 2 years and which is also within range of Iranian missiles. Iraq, Kuwait, and UAE have cut production as their Gulf storage facilities hit capacity. Now, I do believe that Israel and the United States, they're covering this entire area. Do I think it's going to be a problem for Saudi Arabia? No, I don't believe so whatsoever. I do believe at this point in time, Iran is on its last legs. They don't have that much weaponry left. Trump now is preparing to go in deep and destroy the rest of it, whatever they have left. And at some point, they will be left with nothing. And they don't even have a leader. How do we know this? Well, the Iranian supreme leader says in his first statement that the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed to pressure President Trump. He also demands all U.S. bases be shut down or they will face attacks. So basically, he did this without anyone seeing him. This was a statement that was put out. Now, there are reports that he's badly injured, that he might be in a coma, and it's still very interesting that he hasn't shown his face. Matt Tardito says, the rumor that the new supreme leader of Iran may be dead or severely injured just got more ground to stand on. Foreign news agency published a new news message from him, only he didn't show. Instead, it was read on air. It is rumored that his leg was detached from his body during a coalition airstrike. He has yet to make a public appearance. Some say he's dead. Let's see how this plays out because it's very, very interesting. And again, I think Trump already knows that even, let's say he is alive, he's badly injured. There's no way that he has control of what's going on anymore because most of his leaders, they're completely and utterly gone. And Trump is letting us know that they've been tracking the sleepers that Biden has let in for a very long time. Trump says he's been briefed on Iranian sleeper cells inside the U.S. We know where most of them are. We've got our eye on all of them. So basically, Trump is letting everyone know that, yes, most of the sleepers, they are tracking all of them. And I do believe a lot of these individuals have already been picked up. A lot of the cartel members have been picked up. And this is what the operation was, where he was deporting all the bad people. He was removing a lot of these people because he knew what he was going to be doing later on. He knew he'd be going into these countries. He knew that they were going to unleash the cartel members. He knew that they were going to unleash the terrorists, that they were already brought into this country. So what was he doing? He was removing all of these people. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying that all these people are gone, but they do have eyes on the sleepers, a lot of them, and I do believe they will be removed. Now, yesterday, ABC News came out with a story, and they produced an FBI memo that was released to California. And basically that was put out in February saying that Iran was going to use drones in LA around that area. And what's very interesting is that they didn't tell the whole story. Anyone surprised about this? Absolutely not. Carolyn Levitt confirms that, yeah, they didn't tell you the whole story. They didn't tell you the truth. And basically, they pretty much didn't read the whole memo. Almost sounds like Schiff when Devin Nunes and Adam Schiff were reading the same memo, and Adam Schiff read something completely different than the real memo that Devin Nunes had. And it turns out Devin Nunes' memo was right, and Adam Schiff lied. Carolyn Levitt put this out and said, this post and story should be immediately retracted by the ABC News, providing false information to intentionally alarm the American public. Think about why they did it. They wrote this based on one email that was sent to local law enforcement in California about a single unverified tip. The email even stated the tip was based on unverified intelligence, yet ABC News left out this critical fact in their story. Why? To be clear, no such threat from Iran to our homeland exists, and it never did. So why did they do it? Because I do believe they are trying to put this out there because they were going to either have the deep state players try to do something or activate one of their Iranian sleepers to try to do something. Is there Iranian boats sailing up to our shores with drones? No. I do believe this was going to be an inside job. And Ben Williamson actually showed the memos, and it says on the left is the way ABC or their source reported the FBI alert. On the right is the actual FBI alert that went to JTFF partners. You notice the word that was left out, unverified. Yeah, they left that part out. So why would they be saying this? Most likely it was going to be an inside job to scare the people, and this is what they normally do. Matt Tardito says California is facing threats of drone attacks from either sleeper cells or people in the USA loyal to the Iranian regime. So basically, is this the deep state players who are the Muslim Brotherhood, the people that were brought in to infiltrate our country? So is the threat real? Maybe, but not in the way that they said it. So why would they do this? Well, very interestingly, the same day that story came out, and they timed it just right, all of a sudden, the U.S. Army on their Facebook page wrote that drones, 4 military drones, were stolen from Fort Campbell in Kentucky. The drones were originally stolen in November of last year, but Fort Campbell released information and surveillance photos to the public on March 11th. That's kind of odd, don't you think? So let's see, they came out with that story, and now they wanted to let everyone know that the drones were stolen. Were these drones going to be used in some type of false flag? Maybe, maybe not, but that's very interesting. But Paul Fleuret put this out and said, doomsday plane spotted training over Southern California. The E-6B Mercury, also known as doomsday plane, is also known as looking glass. Q Drop 3585 discusses looking glass. Now couple this with the news of Iran threatening drone attacks on California. So are they looking for other operatives? Are they keeping an eye? Because, again, they're the ones doing this to make us think that Iran is attacking. It's starting to look that way, doesn't it? But you could see that the deep state players, they're already building the narrative that Iran is actually now using cyber attacks to hit certain companies. Election Wizard put this out. U.S. medical tech company Stryker hit by a cyber attack by an Iranian-linked hacker group. I do believe that they're building this narrative that when we're at war or war is happening, cyber attacks are going to be hitting the U.S. And I do believe they'll try to build this up, but I do believe this is probably going to be used probably with Ukraine and maybe North Korea. Maybe that's still on the books right here. But again, you could see that they're running out of players right now. But I do believe that they're going to be using this later on because, again, once they start to realize that they can't win the elections, once they realize that no matter what they do, you're going to have to register as a citizen, you're going to have to show voter ID, well, they're going to do whatever they possibly can to try to stop the elections. They're going to try to delay it. Will riots be enough? Most likely not. That'll have to be coupled with other things. And they'll probably have to try to use an invisible attack. Now, were they going to try to use Iran for this? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe this is why Trump decided to go in way ahead of schedule and remove Iran right now because he knew what they were planning to do, which means that shifts them over to maybe Ukraine. And Trump actually will now be able to control everything that's going on because, again, Ukraine, again, is fighting against Russia. Is Russia going to cooperate with whatever the deep state players try to do, where they try to pin it on Russia, saying Russia now is attacking? I don't think so. Will they try to use Russia saying that they're cyber attacking? Maybe, maybe not. But it seems like it's starting to play out that way. And I think Trump now is basically shutting this all down and actually leading them into a area where he can control the entire situation. And Trump now, he has tapped the oil reserves. He announced releasing over 150 million barrels. So why is he doing this? Well, think about it. Biden tapped the oil supplies to counter the price increases from the Inflation Reduction Act, which was really the Green New scam. Trump is tapping the oil reserves to stop the hostile nations from blackmailing us with oil prices. Who is he really fighting right now? Think about what he's trying to control. The Strait of Hormuz, Karg. He's taken the power away from the London banking system. That's really what it is. It's the bankers that control pretty much everything. So he's taking the control away, the control of energy away from them, and now using the strategic petroleum reserves, and this is why it was put into place. Of course, Biden drained it to actually mitigate the prices for his Green New scam, but Trump is using it to counter the hostile nations from blackmailing us with oil prices. So Trump is using this against the deep state players, against the central bankers, because Trump is preparing to take control of it all. And this is why Trump now has declared that we've won the Iran war. We've won in the case of that we have destroyed their weapons in Iran. We've removed the regime. I do believe they're on their last legs. They really can't attack anymore. And whatever terrorist organizations that they have left, they're going to be taken care of. So are they a big threat anymore the way they were before? No, which means Trump says, that's why Trump says we won. Trump is still fighting. Why? Because we're still fighting the true fight. This is against the deep state, the central bankers that kept the chaos in the region to control the energy. That's what's really happening right now. And Trump, he knows moving forward, he knows that we need to control the energy. We need to stop what the deep state, the central bankers have been doing for a very long time. Remember, everything that they put into place was to push us into the Green New Scam and to maintain control over everything. Trump is taking this control away from them. Remember, they had their globalist system to control tariffs, to control shipping, to control everything. Remember, they like everything centralized. Trump now is decentralizing it all and giving the control back to the people, taking it away from the deep state players every step of the way. And what's very interesting is that Witkoff and Kushner, they met Russian delegation in Florida, and now they're working out a strategic economic deal on oil. Let's see, Trump removed some of the sanctions in regards to oil. Now Russia is going to be working with the United States in regards to oil. Think about that for a second. Is Trump trying to get control of all the energy around the world? Why do you think the deep state players continually kept Russia as the boogeyman? Russia, for a very long time, has wanted to do business with the Western nations. The deep state players never wanted that to happen because, number one, they wanted Russia to be the boogeyman and they wanted to go to war with Russia. Number two, Russia has a lot of oil, which could then be distributed across the globe. They didn't want any of this because what happens if it's all freed up in the Strait of Hormuz, all the oil, and there's no reason to have the insurance for the ships anymore because there's no more chaos? What happens when Russia distributes oils across the globe? Do oil prices go up or do they go way, way down? Trump is going to bring oil prices to the floor. That's what this is all about. And you could see that Trump is on his way doing this. Do I believe that we've already won in Iran? Absolutely. Trump now is fighting against the deep state players for control of the energy. Because again, if we're going to enter the golden age, we're going to remove the Federal Reserve System, the central bank system across the world. This is what needs to be done. Remember, all these things, these are all different parts of the system. Everything that we see across the globe originates from the central bank system. Because where do you think all these people get the money from? How do you think they're able to establish all this? From the money. And the money is created out of thin air. And then it's distributed across the globe. You cut off the main money supply. Guess what? You can't fund any of this. Everything goes down the tubos. But again, before you cut off the money supply, you got to cut off the different nations, the different terrorist groups, the different systems that they put into place to protect their money system. You see, if Trump went directly at the Federal Reserve, they would have the terrorist regimes, they would have everything go after Trump. So Trump, they actually did. They tried to assassinate him multiple times. So Trump is going after them. He's no longer being hunted. He's hunting them across the globe. That is what you're witnessing right now. And you could see that the New Yorkers, they're now getting a very big lesson when they voted in Mamdani. Think about it. They completely forgot what happened during 9/11. And now, when you look at City Hall, you can see that the Muslim religion is now intertwined with the mayoral office in New York City. And what's very interesting is that M. Moknes put this out and said, ISIS suspect, and now you can see that individual is in the mayoral office. That should tell you everything you need to know right there. And remember, and Adam Johnson put this out, 38% of New York City residents are now foreign-born, up from 18% in 1970. An entirely new electorate has been imported. The reality of New York City is occurring across America. And this is how they pushed the infiltration. Because again, if you can infiltrate a city, if you can infiltrate multiple cities and then maybe states, you can change the electorate. You can change the direction. This is how you conquer those areas from within. No longer are we coming in with troops. No longer are they coming in with bombs and missiles to take over a town, a city, and then raise their flag. They're slowly infiltrating and bringing the people in that they want, taking over the government, transforming the town or the city. Then they raise their flag and say, we have complete and utter control of this area. All you got to do is look at Minneapolis. All you got to do is look at New York City. All you got to do is look at LA. All you got to do is look across the globe of where the blue states are and the blue cities are. You can see this is exactly what has occurred. They infiltrated this country and they conquered the different towns and the different cities. Now we're in the process of battling them and taking it back because they knew they couldn't bring these people in, on ships and have us fight them in the streets. They would lose. The ships would never make it ashore. But if you infiltrated very, very slowly, very, very quietly, very methodically, no one would notice. And this is what Obama did from the very, very beginning. This is what they just didn't do here in the United States. They did it across the globe. This is how the deep state players were taking over each and every single one of these countries. Think about that for a second. They were removing the country's identity. When you remove the identity, people will no longer fight. What are you going to fight for? Because if you remove the people and the people die off, like Canada's killing their people, if you do this and you bring in other people, there is no identity. You basically were able to take over each one of these countries and remove the identity, remove the history. And now this makes it a lot easier for the deep state players. And this is what they were trying to do here. But it's all fallen apart. Just like all the news stories fell apart with Pete Hegseth giving meals to the troop, because now people are now calling them out on this, saying this is tradition. This is what's been happening over time. If you notice, the fake news is really not calling out all the money has been laundered in Minnesota or California or Colorado or many other places. And how about all the money that was laundered through Snap? Are they making a really big deal out of that? Data Republican says, Snap shock, far many more millions in food and aid spent on king crab lobster steaks than the Department of War. From an official government research study of $6.58 billion in SNAP expenditures, $1.9 million were spent on king crab, $2.2 million were spent on lobster, and $28.4 million on select beef loins. Federal SNAP spending in 2024 was $99.8 billion, scaled up. That means SNAP recipients spent $28.8 million on king crab, $33.36 million on lobster, $430.75 million on steaks. DLW spent $2 million on Alaskan king crab, $6.9 million on lobster tail, $15.1 million on ribeye steak. Ask any journalist pushing the Hegseth is spending money on lobster propaganda if they're willing to cut out those categories for SNAP recipients. They will not be. And once again, nobody's talking about that. Again, it was a gotcha question. It is completely and utterly failed. And that is what we see every single time they try to do this now. Because again, if the fake news controlled the narrative, they would have won. But now that we have X, we have Truth, we have Rumble, they can't win the argument now. They're debunked in a matter of minutes. And the other thing that's very interesting is, remember when Biden and his DOJ removed the executive privilege for Trump? Well, since Biden can do that, so can Trump. He could do this to Biden. And Trump, well, he just rejected former President Joe Biden's assertion of executive privilege over a tranche of documents requested by the Senate as part of a various probes into the 46th president, determining it is not in the best interest of the United States. So basically, they're trying to hide this information on whether he was able to do his duties as president. And the dispute centers on documents related to an investigation into Biden's health, alleged politically motivated probes into Trump and his allies, and the Biden family's financial dealings. So the Senate Republicans want this. Biden is saying it's covered by executive privilege, and Trump is saying, well, no, I had to hand over everything. They removed the executive privilege for me, so we can now remove executive privilege for Biden. See how this works? Trump set them all up. See, he did nothing wrong. He let them use all these different precedents, and now he's going to be using them on them because they're the ones who actually committed the crimes. And you can see Trump now is endorsing many more people. He endorsed Jake Paul. He endorsed Brandon Herrera. And we could see at this point in time, Trump now is endorsing many, many people because what is he doing? He's building up all the patriots to basically remove the rhinos and the non-patriots in the House and in the Senate. And basically, he's been endorsing quite a number of people. And as we get closer and closer to primaries and elections, everyone needs to look at who he is now endorsing. And those are the people that we need to vote for. Because I do believe these people will be on his side. Now, is he going to get every single person? No, there might be some rhinos that are left over. But again, if they are the minority, guess what? They will have no power whatsoever, and they'll have to go along with whatever the majority says. And most of these people will probably see the writing on the wall, and they'll realize we don't have the power anymore. And they might even drop out. And we could see there's a lot of pressure on Cornyn. There's a lot of pressure on Thune right now. But I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they have set them all up. Because once again, remember, this is about the people. This is about the power of the people. And for Trump to do certain things, he needs the people to see it, and he needs the people to want it. Just like the people wanted deportation. Just like the people wanted Trump to fix the economy. Just like they wanted Trump to end the endless wars. And now the people want Trump to do what? They want him to remove the illegals and make sure they don't vote. The people want him to implement voter ID. The people want him to implement voter registration. So if the people want this and the minority, the D's and the rhinos don't, do you think Trump has the ability to override all of this? Absolutely, because the people are going to demand it. Now, what's very interesting is that we could see there's more and more evidence of election interference, and it's continually coming out. Basically, the rigging of the election. CanCon put this out and said, it's not too often that I see something in the news about elections that I hadn't previously heard. This is one of those things. Just the news reports that Rumbeck allegedly stores and processes ballots for Nevada as well, and also reportedly stores ballots for Colorado, California, and Utah, although it's unclear if they process them for those states. This is absolutely absurd. That is 87 electoral votes under the control of one private company with no obligation to the taxpayer for oversight and apparently no observation, despite assurances that the source funded to the tune of $1 million. Maricopa Sheriff Paul Penzone had deputies present. Rumbeck is also the company that shipped 770,000 mail-in ballots to Fulton County 3 days after in-person advance voting had already begun. So let's see. We have one company, Rumbeck, which was in the Post, that controls 87 electoral votes. I think we're all seeing the rigged elections now. I think we've always known this. We were told about this, but now you're seeing it firsthand. And you could see the deep state players, along with Politico and Axios and the rest, they're not even hiding it anymore. They're saying the quiet part out loud. Politico put this out and said, GOP wants to move past the Save America Act. Data Republican says, they're not even hiding it anymore. No, they're not. They don't like all this pressure on them to pass the Save America Act. And yes, we have Thune, Cornyn. They're not really trying to pass it. They're trying to make you think they're trying to pass it, but they're really not. But Deshaun Davis comes up a way that we might be able to address this. If you really want to spice up the Save America Act debate and the talking filibuster, have Trump exercise his rights under Rule 19.8 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, which requires the Senate to let all former presidents address the Senate upon demand. Yes, he is currently president, but remember, he is also a former president. Imagine Trump rolling into the Senate mid-Democrat filibuster and taking over the whole place. That would be incredible. Clandestine put this out and says, Trump speaks on the popularity of the Save America Act and continues to show Americans the vital importance of secure elections. All of this talk and buildup has a purpose. Now, when the Dems' voter turnout plummets in 2026, the public will know why. The Dems' popularity is an illusion, propped up by mass election fraud, meaning the Dems don't actually care about democracy. They care about power, meaning the entire identity of the Democratic Party and left-wing movement as a whole is a lie. Voter ID will be the extinction of the Democratic Party. That's absolutely true. But think about what else Trump is doing. He's continually saying, Save America Act, we need a voter ID. He wants everyone to see those people that are pushing back on it. He wants everyone to see that they're lying to you. Thune is lying. Cornyn is lying. They're all lying. And as time goes on, Trump is building the popularity of the Save America Act. Remember, the people are the power. So the Save America Act is continually pushed because the people want it. When they see the Senate reject it, the people are going to be on Trump's side when he uses the executive order, because he's going to show the proof that the elections were rigged. He's going to show the people that, look, they didn't want to do this because they're protecting the cheating system. And when he shows you what happened in Fulton County, when he shows you what happened in Arizona and other places, people are going to be with him. Remember, this is what he did in the 2024 election. Biden was bringing in all the illegals, / Obama, of course. The people just had to sit there and watch. Trump knew the people in all the different cities would start to realize, wait a minute, this is not a good thing. It might have started out as good. Oh, yes, let the people come in. The people should have a chance to thrive. But what people really saw was, wait a minute, all these people are getting free health insurance. They're getting free meals. They're getting free phones. They're getting free lodging. They're taking over our schools. They're using up our resources. The kids don't have playgrounds anymore. That's what people saw. And then people started to say, whoa, wait a minute. This is not good. The people of Chicago, the people of New York said, wait a minute. This isn't good. What's going on here? And they started to push back. The same thing's going to happen with the election rigging. The people are going to see the proof. The people are going to say, Trump, you need to do something about this. Congress won't. The rhinos won't do anything. The D's won't do anything. What can you do? Well, if Trump has the proof, he says, listen, I can put out an executive order and I can actually say this is a national security threat. And I can say everyone must show ID when they go to vote. That is what he's going to do. And the D's, this is why they're so panicked. Because again, it's the power of the people. You see, if Trump didn't have the people behind him, he wouldn't be able to do this. No one would go along with it. But since the people are on his side, and what, 82% to 87% the people want this, no one's going to say, we don't want this. We object. The only people that are going to object are the D's and the rhinos and the deep state players and the fake news. So Trump, he has the people. He's building this up, showing the people. He wants the people to see it. That's the whole purpose of this. And in the end, when you actually have to show ID, just like Clandestine says, it's going to show the D's have no voters whatsoever. Their vote totals are going to be so low. Now, the D's, they don't want anyone to see this. So what do? They push riots, maybe cyber attacks, maybe riots and a war at the same time. They did this during 2020. Don't put it past them to try to delay the elections. Remember, they don't want people to see they have no voters. All they have is illegals and the cheating system. So they will try to do all this. Now, something very interesting happened when Trump was at a rally giving a speech. All of a sudden, the screen went green for 38 seconds. And just like Gizmo started to look into this, and other people helped him, like Rebel Jack Q 1776, Veronica C 1350, and Susan Grounds, all assisted. And yes, they were able to capture this, and the video went green for 38 seconds, which is very, very interesting. And then, just like Gizmo put this out and said, the video feed of Trump's speech in Kentucky turned green at 4:52 p.m. Q 452, which is post 452. The screen remained green for 38 seconds. Q post 38, the calm before the storm. So when you really look at this and you look at post 452, it says the following: enough is enough. and then it has, conf, AW, CG. It looks like code. Owls, good hunting. And the brackets are around G and O for enough is enough. Go. And then if you look at post 38, down below it says the calm before the storm. So basically, is everything a go? Trump says we already won in Iran. Trump is letting everyone know that we have complete and utter control right now. And we have the leverage. We're gaining leverage, more and more leverage every single day. Do we still have to do more? Absolutely. But the major threats are pretty much gone. And I do believe this is what Trump is doing to actually make sure that he can bring people to justice. Now, the next part of this, of course, is Ukraine. The next part of this is the midterms, because this is what the deep state players have left. They will fight to the very end to make sure that we don't win the midterms. That's how important it is to them. Because, again, if they win the midterms, they have the ability to impeach the president. If the Patriots win the midterms, we have the ability to impeach their deep state soldiers in the judiciary. We have the ability to reverse their laws. We have the ability to create new laws. We have the ability to pretty much take them down and take down the central bank system. We have the ability to do all of this. So this is why they waited for this moment. And Trump, he knew that this was coming. This is why he's been basically removing their power step by step for this moment. And it looks like everything is a go. Now, it doesn't mean everything's perfect. It means that we have a lot more leverage than we did before. And I do believe as we approach the midterms, we're going to have even more leverage, especially when either the Save America Act is passed or Trump uses his executive order to say it's a national security threat because of what happened in Fulton County, Georgia, and Arizona, and of course, around the rest of the country. There'll be enough proof. Will this put enough pressure on the Senate to pass it? Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see. But if they don't pass it and the proof is out there, they're finished. If they do pass it with all the proof, they're finished anyhow. No one's going to vote for them. So Trump has all the leverage at this point. And you can see it's coming down. It's all coming down around the deep state players. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone. Thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.